Michael B. Jordan is in this movie, Swapped, and it's a Netflix movie if you guys don't know. Netflix animated movie. And he actually isn't himself in this. He actually gets swapped into a little chipmunk. I'm going to call it chipmunk, but actually the little animal was called a puku, I believe. A puku. Either way, this movie is an animated feature on Netflix that really impressed me. It really impressed me. I was very surprised on how deep this movie got in certain points and how the animation was. Like, it was very impressive. But if you guys don't know, both Michael B. Jordan and I believe it was Juno Temple star in this movie. Michael B. Jordan as the voice of Ollie, and Juno Temple as the voice of Ivy. And they are two different animals who end up getting swapped for their different characteristics. I forgot the name. I'm just gonna go. Ivy is a bird. Ollie is a chipmunk, and they both get swapped, and it ends up where they're different type of animal creatures. And it was impressive how they did tell the story because it wasn't exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Like, I thought it was gonna be how other animated or other movies do, where both of these characters know each other prior, and both of these characters end up in a little pickle where they either both collide and fall onto something or both collide, like a Freaky Friday type of thing. But, I mean, even though it was kind of like that, this movie took its time to explain it, and I love that. I believe this movie is 2 hours. It's an hour and 42 minutes, which isn't bad. But it does a good job on telling you both of these different characters' perspectives, what they're like, what the food chain is like for them, who's higher up, who's lower, and also it does a good job of explaining the power of friendship. I'm playing more like friendship and trust. Ollie is the main character in this, played by Michael B. Jordan, and he is a little chipmunk who accidentally messes with the food chain. So his family and all of these chipmunks in this pack believe that they need to stay away from everything. They need to stop going out doing this. They need to stay in their little bubble and prioritize their food, everything. Ollie is a little different. Ollie is a character that is very curious, very funny, by the way. And I love that Michael B. Jordan was the voice actor for him. And very creative. There was a really cool scene that actually shocked the heck out of me. Like, already when the movie starts, I was very impressed with the animation. Like the leaves, the grass, the little details in the certain animals, I was very impressed with. But the very next scene where Michael B. Jordan is explaining like how his life pretty much got ruined and is telling his like origin or background was unbelievable. So basically, Ollie is curious. Ollie is always in wonder of different things. And so Ollie is very inventive. He crafts a lot of these different things, different mechanisms to help with his group. And the first thing he starts crafting is like scuba gear to go swimming. And I thought it was super funny when he kept trying to figure out how to breathe and also be underwater. And I love the whole sequence. But when he finally figures it out, there was a really cool sequence that plays in the water that I was just so impressed with. It was almost like watching Finding Nemo, or I don't want to put it up there because it doesn't look as good as Avatar: The Way of Water, but almost like that. And it was just a really nice scene with him going through the little ocean water, or into the sea, and just looking at all these different awesome looking creatures. Like, there were so many times he would touch something and that would appear. He would look at something and he just wonder, and it was just really cool to see that. Obviously, at a moment, something tries to bite him or eat him, and his father takes him out and explains to him, we don't go out, like, everything outside of our area is dangerous. But I just thought that was really cool. Like, that was a very good way to open us up to this character, Ollie. And go further on, and you get introduced to Ivy a little bit down a ways, like a way down a ways. I want to say when we're 20, maybe 15 minutes into the movie. And we start learning about her, how she's a bird who's trying to take care of her family and just do the best she can with them. But before that happens too, Ollie's character ends up, and once again, this is 15 minutes in the movie, ends up accidentally falling on something that swaps his animal trait into the bird, and ends up running into Ivy later because his whole group cast him out. And Ivy, believing that he's an actual bird and not finding, well, I mean, she found stuff strange with him, but finding some certain things strange with him, takes him in easily and starts explaining some things, starts trying to help. Later, starts to realize Ollie ain't a bird because she ends up falling on a little pod thing that changes her appearance as well, but instantly learns, oh, so you're a puku. And now I'm remembering the name. You're a chipmunk. Well, you were a bird. And they both just end up being chased through the wild by these different creatures. Well, I thought was really cool. Thought was insane. But there were just so many breathtaking, it took my breath away, animated scenes where I was just like, wow, they really did a good job on this movie. They really worked their magic. And magic. But I was just so impressed. And I'm trying to remember. I believe the studio that made this was Skydance Animation. And I don't know too much about them. I know that they made the movie Spellbound along with Luck. And they made one more, which I was a little questionable on. It was, I think it might have been what's it called? It might have been a short, but it was called Blush. But this is the first time I'm watching something Skydance animated. I haven't seen those movies yet. I will. But I'm just very impressed with them. And I honestly, if this is the animation style they've been doing, continue it. Because it looked incredible. Incredible. But let me get to the part that impressed me about friendship and trust. Little by little, obviously, they're going through their Freaky Friday stuff where they're just not getting how each of them work. They're not getting how, for example, all these animal, or Ollie's kind, their noses are they help them see pretty much. Like, they're not blind. Like, they can see things. Obviously, their eyes work. But their noses help them really see way more in detail. Like, they can smell certain things, sniff them out. They have a high sensitivity to certain things. And I thought that was really cool for Ivy to learn, especially when they're trying to get through a certain obstacle. And then it was cool instantly when Ivy is teaching Ollie how to fly. That was another animated sequence that I was just very impressed with. Like, it's not just how he was flying, it was just that how they were doing certain things in the air when it was going. Like how she was explaining how to fly to him. It was almost like that scene in Invincible where Omni-Man in season 1 is explaining to Mark how they fly. And it was cool that he was saying, we kind of just push off of the air. Do this, do that. And that's what it felt like with this. It was just really nice to get her narration, helping Ollie, and also Ollie even enjoying flying. Because at first it was like, this dude is a lost cause. But right when he learns how to fly, it was really cool to see the certain motions they were showing. Especially, it gave me vibes almost like How to Train Your Dragon, where Hiccup and Toothless are first learning how to fly. And when he finally gets it, when he actually accidentally loses that paper. But this takes its time, and this is really cool. So maybe it's like that scene where Hiccup, Toothless, and I'm blanking on her name, but Toothless' love interest. That's probably what this is like. But it was very nice. The other friendship and trust part, and that's the other crazy thing that took me out. There was another voice actor in this movie that I was honestly a little questionable about them casting, but later turned out to be the perfect choice, and I was just mind blown on how big of a part he played. This is Tracy Morgan playing a little fish called Boogle. Or the kind was even called Boogle, but we called him Boogle in the movie. But his character, very funny, little fish, all sweet, kind of giving Olaf vibes from Frozen, but very friendly fish, very friendly, nothing to worry about. Helps Ivy and Ollie especially explaining where the pods are, helping them on their journey, and was just a very funny character to learn from. But there is a monologue where you are just listening to him because they both accidentally turn into the boogle fish that he is, and they start swimming in the water. And at this point, Ivy realizes that Ollie and Ivy met when they were younger, and she realizes that she played an effect on how his home situation currently is. And Tracy Morgan gives such a good like monologue on just being lonely and also just needing people. And it explains something about his character because there were so many times when he was in the water talking to Ollie mainly, and he was just talking about, you're my best friend, and like I haven't talked to a person in what, like 500, 400 years or something like that. And it was just sweet to hear him like talk about how his loneliness is pretty much affecting him and how it's just messed with him as a whole, and like it people need people, and that people are affected in different ways when they are dealing with loneliness. And I was like, this movie getting real, really real. But I thought it was getting to an end point. But that's when I checked the time, and I'm like, there's still like 35 minutes left in this movie. How much more can they do? It feels like they're hitting it on the nail on exactly certain things need to like happen. Like I think they could end it right when they get to the pods. Boy, was I surprised. They get to these pods where they're trying to change back to their original animal characteristics, and you're just thinking like, all right, so what more do they have to do? Like they're changed, they're good, but then all of a sudden when they change back to their original like bodies, and they're talking to the booglefish going like, what do you want to change into? Because the booglefish said like, hey, can I come with you to probably change too? And they're like, yeah. So you're thinking, oh, it's probably going to change into, well, why would it want to change? Because I'm like, if you were a fish, you should be fine. Little did I know, Tracy Morgan is the villain of the movie. Yeah. Tracy Morgan's character, the booglefish, is the villain of the movie. And it surprised the heck out of me. I was just sitting there. I was like, wow, this is a nice movie. This is what the... I literally sit back the whole time and I'm just like, what? Like, he's just going through different things. He's like, I could be a puku. I could be a bird. No, I want to be, and his voice change was so good. I was shook. Tracy Morgan, you need to keep doing more voice acting. I was shook. He just goes, I want to be a fire wolf. And I went, and he changes into the exact villain that was explained to us at the start of the movie. And it took me out. I was sitting there and I was like, you're telling me you are the fire wolf that ruined this whole land? And he just gives the sickest, like, he's talking about, yeah, they trapped me in that fish for 300 years, thought it was a joke, but I'm going to take everything back. And I was like, I was still just sitting there like, what the heck? Tracy Morgan is really the villain of this movie. What is going on? That was the perfect choice because it really just took me out. And then he knocks him out, brings them back to their little forest, and he starts lighting things on fire, and he destroys the pods. And I'm like, bro, what? I was sitting there like, how do they solve this now? Now I understand why this movie had like 40 or 30 minutes left. They have to solve this situation. And I thought it was so funny that this fish was just alone for this whole time. I'm thinking this probably is going to play Olaf or something like that. No, this fish was imprisoned because it's the villain of the movie. And I'm just taking it back. I'm like, how are they going to solve this? And it was just so nice to see how, you know, this movie really tested trust. Like, really tested trust. Like, yes, it was about friendship, but this movie was really about trust. And I was just taken aback. I was like, I hope kids watch this just so that they know, like, you know, you can have friends without a doubt, but just be careful with who you trust. Be careful with the whole stranger danger thing, because you never know what that stranger's done in the past. And I'm not going to lie, if I ever see Tracy Morgan again, or Tracy Morgan in general, I'm going to watch my step, because that messed me up. That reveal messed me up, and I don't know if I can watch a Tracy Morgan movie again, because usually he is always the comedic relief that is always there to either help out a certain person or even just be a funny vibe in the movie. This messed me up. I was really not expecting it. That oh, maybe I'll be a fire wolf. I went, but that was awesome, man. Like I really just thought that was a very cool change because the sequences that were going on, obviously it took a little bit longer for them to get swapped, change into different characters, but that switch of that was another thing. We didn't even know who the villain was. There were obviously like obstacles they faced, animals that were trying to eat them, but we didn't know the main villain. If it was really just going to be them two versus each other to finally learn a lesson, or if there really was just a villain that we didn't even realize, which AKA was Tracy Morgan, which I was really impressed with. Like, I need more animated movies to do that, especially if they're trying to switch the story around, because everybody's seen a Freaky Friday or a twins type of story over and over again. But if you can change certain elements of the story, that's something I respect. That's something that I love. And this movie right here, I would definitely watch it again, not just because the animation was incredible, but because the voice acting was good, the story was good, and it taught a very good lesson. Trust comes a long way. And going to my final point of this whole segment, trust comes a long way too when you're giving it out. Like, there were obviously points at the beginning where they put their trust in the wrong person or were hesitant with who they trusted. But then later, even when they were getting chased by all these animals, almost eaten, there were so many times that they actually helped out these different animals when they didn't even know it. There was a scene where Ollie and Ivy, I believe it was mainly Ollie. No, it was the whole team. It was Ollie, Ivy, and even the booglefish that you find out is later evil, helped save this little tree wolf cub that was about to fall in the water, gave it back to the animal or the dad wooden wolf that was going after them with his gang of wooden wolves. And you see a sign of, hey, thank you for that. Why'd you do that? I don't know why you did that. I was going to eat you, but thank you. You could tell that was what was being communicated. I'm sorry. That was communicated in my head. I'm just saying. But it was just really cool to see while the fire was like lighting this whole forest on fire, they needed help getting the animals out of there. And this is, at this point, this is like the wild robot type of moment when the forest is on fire or when everything's snowing and the wild robot's helping to save all these different creatures from dying in this snow. That's what this was like. They're trying to save them from the fire. And once again, there's another lesson where the thing we learned from the beginning with Ollie's family. Don't ever trust another animal. Stick with your little social group area. Don't let anybody in. And there's a scene where Ollie is helping a couple of these animals cross the river to get over to their little area. And instantly, his whole pack is there with all these different chipmunks. And they're just saying, Ollie, no, you shouldn't have brought him here. And Ollie's like, they need our help. And for a second, they're thinking about it, but they see the situation in back of them. And instantly, they start helping. But it's just so cool. Like, obviously, they're scared. Obviously, they're like, well, we can't help these creatures because you don't know. They might kill us. They might do this. They might do that. But in the spur of the moment, they just instantly help them, especially since it was a little cub. But it was just nice to get a lesson like that. And it was a very good lesson to teach kids because, yeah, trust is hard to give out. But once you do give that trust and it's awarded back to you, it's a very good feeling. It's very perfect. And I just love that, man. I loved it. I thought this movie did a very good job of explaining that. And if I were to give this movie a rating, I'm going to give this a high 8, only because I keep thinking about The Wild Robot. I keep thinking about Hoppers. And those two movies were very good. Like, I think The Wild Robot, that's a 9 out of 10 to me. A very high 9 out of 10. Hoppers was a 9 out of 10 as well. This one, I think I'm close to a 9 out of 10. I need to watch it again, but I'm at a high 8 out of 10 for this one. A high 8 out of 10. But this was a very good movie. It definitely had things I did not expect. I think the villain for both of these movies is better in my opinion because it was just a huge surprise, but I was impressed, and I would highly recommend you guys watch this movie. If you guys are even having trouble with your friendships or trust right now in people, trust in the world, whatever. Like, it's definitely at high stakes today, but I would highly recommend watching this, especially showing this to kids, because it's just fun. It looks pretty, it looks beautiful, and it's also just a good lesson. But definitely go watch it. It's on Netflix. It came out last week as I'm recording this, and it's just a nice watch. It's nice to watch. It's beautiful. It's fun, and you guys shouldn't prohibit yourself from it. I know it's animated, but it's good. But yeah,